Hello and welcome to another video about the construction of Phase 2 of Heaton Lodge Junction. Now, as you can probably tell, we're not in the basement, we're not at Heaton Lodge Junction either. We are up again near Dent Station on the Settle Carlisle line, which happens to be my second favourite home. And I am again stood on the very place where Dent Station signal box was for many years. But today, anyway, we're going to Norfolk to speak to Tim Horn because he's making another building in the series for the cement factory complex. We're going to be static grassing the embankment we did a few weeks ago. We're going to be unboxing a new kit by Laser Lines, Railway Laser Lines, which is a new footbridge, which is just exquisite in its detail, or it will be when I've built it anyway. So we've got quite a lot to get through today. So let's crack on, and yeah, I hope you enjoy the view up here. It really is absolutely stunning. If you ever get a chance to visit the Settle Carlisle line, it's just really is a beautiful place. Even if you come up here just once or just take the train through from Settle to Carlisle. Anyway, let's get on, and yeah, hang on for the ride. So, just for a change, we're in the workshop this week, only for a couple of minutes, mind. And some of you will know, I think I showed you around actually in a previous video, the workshop next door, which is the paint shop, and next door to that, which is a storage room. And I built all this basically out of stud walling completely from YouTube videos, and it hasn't fallen down yet. Nor, I might add, of the lights fuse, because I did that as well. But anyway, let's move on. So I spend a lot of time in here just perfecting techniques and trying to get things right. And it's been one of those days today, I must confess, where everything has gone wrong. It really has. And I'm sure you have exactly the same sometimes too, where you just do one thing, it doesn't work out. You make a mess of that, so you move on to something else to give yourself a break. That doesn't work out either. So the nearest hammer becomes a very big temptation to smash everything up. But anyway, we're cracking on. We are getting somewhere now, and I just want to show you in greater detail just what I have been doing here. So let me just reposition the camera and I'll show you up close. So yeah, I've just been working on the mess hut, which is a kit by Railway Laser Lines. I think it's in double O as well as O gauge, and just trying to perfect the brick of the wall. And actually this is one minor success I've had, although by quite a bit of trial and error, and it's just accomplished. I'll just take you quickly through what I did. And I sprayed, just like in Steve's videos of how to build his kits, I sprayed the brick wall, or what is meant to be the brick wall, in white primer. And then all I've done is just taken a bit of rag like so, dipped it in neat dark red paint by Phoenix Precision Paints, and dipped another bit of rag in the light red brick, and I've just gone over it very lightly and built up the shades. And actually, now that's dry, it's come out okay. So I am quite pleased with that, although I did manage to bust the bottom of the door there, as you can see. But that's me. I rarely watch instruction videos, but I think I really need to learn how to do that because it does save a lot of time. So that's actually not too bad. I'm going to crack on with this kit later this week. So next week we should have this done. What has been a problem is I'm trying to make, or I've been trying to make, some what are they, walkways that go along the sides of the buildings for the concrete cement plant. There's loads and loads of walkways, as you can see from the photos popping up. And I need to really replicate these. And I thought brass would be a good medium, simply because, don't forget, a lot of these buildings, although they're secured to carts and they're going to be going on the back of articulated trucks to various different locations in 18 months' time, they need to be quite robust. So I thought in my wisdom I would drill some holes for the handrails in some brass sheet or brass strip, which is about 35 millimeters wide. And these are meant to be for the handrails. And then I was just going to use this strip, if I can get it out, to go along the handrails like so. Anyway, I'm going to have to chuck it all in the bin. It's not going to work. And the main reason is, even with an 80 or 100 watt soldering iron, some of you solder geeks will know that I just can't get the metal hot enough to take solder. I can probably rather super glue it, but it's just not gonna be robust enough. Super glue is great for a lot of things, but it can be brittle and things can break off. So I'm gonna have to find another way of doing these. I think I'm gonna have to resort to the resin printing, which I've mentioned before in this video. Tim Horn at Tim Horn Baseboards has kindly offered, and so have a couple of other people, so thanks, to lend me theirs to make these walkways, because I'm going to need about 5 or 6 meters of them to go around all the different buildings of the cement factory complex. So yeah, it happens to me too. Sometimes things go wrong, and you've just got to kind of come back to it the next day and do something else in the meantime, because if you do the same job all the time, it does get really monotonous, and what we don't want to do is lose our enthusiasm. So it happens to the best of us. And anyway, let's get back to a video and I will see you shortly. Right, so just before we get into doing the static grass on these two embankments, just wanted to show you quickly this new kit that's been released by Railway Laser Lines, and it's of a footbridge for staff to get to motive power depots or whatever. You can use it for lots of different things, but I'm going to be using it for the well-known bridge that was at Healy Mills that the staff used to get from the main car park to the actual motive power depot itself. I'm going to use, there's 5 kits that I've got all together from Railway Laser Lines. It's released in O gauge and it's in double O gauge as well. If you go on the website, you can see more details about it. But what I do love about it is the intricacy, which really appeals to me. I'm going to use one of these kits. Now, I've built the sides, as you can see already, when I was up at Dent over the weekend. So I've built the sides, and this first kit is going to stretch from, if I can just pan round, this embankment here, and it's going to go at about, put it the right way around, the sides are going to go about from here all the way over to this, well, it's basically a mess hut that I'm building from the same manufacturer, over those lines and yet to the embankment on my left. So that's going to be one of those kits. The other 4 are going to be joined together, and they're going to go from, well, you can't really see it to be honest, but about 25 meters down there is going to be Healy Mills shed, and the footbridge is going to go from the shed all the way across all these tracks, of which I think there's 23 at the widest. It's going to go over 23 tracks all the way over to this embankment, but albeit a bit further down. And in fact, just to recap actually while we're talking about it, it's just simply 3 sections of, I think it's 4 foot long insulation, just polystyrene from B&Q. I simply glued them together with PVA, cut them with a hot knife, but the secret weapon is, of course, the pebbles and the filler. I've just used filler, that's just popping on your screen now to show you what make it is. Got that from B&Q, covered the polystyrene with filler, and then I pushed into it all the pebbles. We'll just pan round so you can see better, because this one is one I've done earlier, as they used to say on Blue Peter. So you can see the pebbles I've pushed into that filler, and those are going to be the tufts, which you always find on embankments everywhere. So yeah, we're going to cover this in static grass when it's dry in half an hour or so. I just painted it once the filler had dried with just basically this paint here, which is just, if I can just, whoops, it's just basically from B&Q, a basic wall paint in matte brown. Any sort of earth colour will do, of course. But those tufts, those pebbles are what's going to give us our tufts, which really alters the appearance of embankments. I see so many embankments and cuttings on model railways up and down the country, and I do think that they will benefit from a bit more undulation in the terrain, because that's what the real thing is like. And of course, that's why we are doing this, to make it as realistic as we possibly can. So let's get on to static grassing, and I'll quickly show you a recap of how to do that. I know we've been through it before in a previous video, but let's just do it again, and you can really get your hand in at this. And again, you can do it in double O, you can do it in O gauge, N gauge, whatever you're working, you just follow the same procedures, and you can even cover your existing terrain with this method and just put the static grass over the top of whatever you've got now, because it will transform it, believe me. Let's get cracking. Right, before we actually do the static grass, I just wanted to show you also how I'm going to make some unmade surfaces between the tracks. Now, these are our ponds, by the way, just a recap that we did the other week with the so-called frozen surface, which has actually turned out pretty good. Somebody suggested in the comments that I should put a couple of geese and ducks on there just to make it more obvious that it's frozen, and I will do that because it's yeah, I'm really pleased with the way they've turned out. I've not quite finished doing the static grass around the side of this one, but I'll get on with that in the next few days. So what we're going to do today, before we do the static grass on the embankments, is just fill this surface between the tracks, which is covered by all the ingredients, by the way. And we're going to make it into an unmade surface, which you see all the time in places like car parks where they've run out of tarmac and there's potholes everywhere. You see them in railway goods yards, and you see them in station forecourts. In fact, you see unmade surfaces practically everywhere. So this is a really good way of imitating a really good unmade surface. And we're going to include puddles as well. So I'm just going to quickly run through the ingredients, because the first thing we need with the puddles, and this is to make the most realistic puddles, in my opinion, that you can possibly find anywhere. You do need, however, some of these. We've been through this before in the past. And these are cover slides, which some of you may remember when you were at school. I don't know if the camera can pick that up. Yeah, maybe just. You used to use these on microscopes in science classes when you were, using microscopes. And they are really, really thin slides, but they are absolutely superb for making puddles. And I'll show you how in a minute, for those of you that haven't seen my video before on making puddles. So we're going to use these. They're not without the drawbacks. They're quite cheap. You can get them online. Again, these are called cover slides. You can get them online. I think this box of about 100 was probably 9 or 10 quid. But they are very brittle and they're very sharp. So if there's anybody under 3-year-old watching this, just be very careful with your fingers. I'm only kidding. But yeah, seriously though, you can cut yourself, so just be careful with them, but they make super puddles. We've got 3 varieties of just acrylic paint, just a brown, a green and a yellow. Doesn't matter what shades they are, just to make the muddy kind of surface of a puddle. We've got some clear glue and PVA. We don't actually need this clear glue, we can use PVA anyway. But we've got a variety of different surface textures to use for the actual top of the unmade surface itself. Chinchilla dust, you can get this from Pets at Home. Really good for us modelers for making unmade surfaces. It's actually, as you can see by the picture, it's for rabbits to clean their fur in, would you believe? So if you haven't got any rabbits, you might want to buy some of this because it's really good for making unmade surfaces. Now, I've got a log burner and I use a bit of ash. This is from the log burner, which I just sieve out onto the surface as well. That is actually from a coal fire. It's ash as well. Ash is really good from whatever source for, making these sort of surfaces. I've just got some random N-gauge gravel, just kind of grey and darker grey mixed together. We've got our old friend, the Tremendous Earth Powder. Again, Tremendous is a brand name. They make earth powder, which is really good for making paths and all sorts of other stuff that we do. But you can use the crushed earth method, as I've said before. It's just a case of getting some globs of earth from your garden, drying it on a baking tray, and then crushing it with a rolling pin and sieving it, and you get the same effect. This is the chinchilla dust, actually, that I've just taken out of the bag. And that, apart from card, obviously some paintbrushes, a scalpel, and those cover slides are the all-important thing, is what we need to make our unmade surface. Those are the ingredients. Without further ado, let's just get on with making an unmade surface that you'll be really proud of. Right, so let's jump to what we're actually going to be doing today. So we're going to be filling in, just to recap, this space here and we're going to create an unmade surface. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to use the baseboard as the base of the surface. So I've just cut out some card, which I think is 2 or 3, yeah, it's probably 3mm card. And the reason I'm using card as the base, I'm going to glue this down in a minute, is because it gives me some leeway, it gives me some kind of way that I can create some depth for the puddles, because obviously I can't dig into the baseboard, but I can dig into card by means of a scalpel and cut these holes out. And those holes are there because just before I started filming this, I painted some of these cover glasses or cover slides that we just mentioned earlier, painted 5 of them. And all I've done is I've cut holes just a little bit smaller than each of these colour slides in the card. And when I've done that, I've just gone over, just made the, just put a black marker pen to mark where these slides are going to go. I've just cut random holes, as I've just said, and I'm going to put the slides underneath them. So let's just have a look at a slide on the other side. So that's the side we've painted. This is the side we haven't. And when they're underneath, in fact, let's do it now. We should find that we've got some real, well, at least the start of some really good puddles. So we'll just move that card, put the slides back there like so, over our gaps. I quite enjoy doing these puddles and things. Water's something that, if you get it right, it's really, really satisfying once you've finished, because it just looks really, really realistic. So I've put our slides down there. We're going to put the card over the top. There we go. Nearly there with it. Can only do this with one hand, but you can see the point anyway. We are now going to, I'm going to switch to another camera so I can use both hands, and we're going to fill each of these little holes in with Das clay to create the sides of the puddles. And I'm going to glue this card down with some hot glue using this hot glue gun here, which has seen quite good service. And once I've done that, we'll just swap cameras and we will fill in the holes, and I'll show you what the next step is. So our next job is just to fill in the sides of these puddles with some Das clay, just to smooth off the... I've just broken one of those slides actually, you can just hear it now. It wasn't exactly flat, and that actually worth mentioning, that when you put these slides in, they need to be perfectly flat, because the slightest undulation I'll do what that one's just done. I don't know if you can see, but it's just cracked. So it doesn't matter, because what we can do is we can cover that crack and just make, instead of one big puddle, we can make two smaller ones. And in the meantime, just have a little bit of water showing there, and a bit more in the one puddle next to it. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. Just get that, there we go. Das clay is really good for stuff like this, and I've said this before, but I wouldn't normally recommend a particular brand unless it's got some advantages, but Das has, because it doesn't crack when it's dry, it doesn't crack when it's drying, and it makes a lot of difference. The normal clay that you can get from Hobbycraft and other places does crack. I've tried all the different brands, and this one, I think it's German, is really, really good, because it just doesn't crack at all. But you can see what I'm doing with these puddles. We'll jump in a minute to the end of this section. I'm just trying to make these, yeah, that's better. And you see with that one there, we can just put a little bit more clay on there just to make the puddle, give it some irregular edges. Just turn the camera around and I'll zoom in. But there you can see we've got 4 out of the 5 puddles all done and filled in, and then we're just going to start doing the surface. What we will do is we'll cover these puddles, now they're set into the card, with some masking tape. So just off camera, I have finished putting the clay in these puddles. As you can see, I've just covered the surfaces, well, the edges of the puddles with the clay, just to smooth them around. And I've also made some little hillocks as well with the clay, which will dry by tomorrow morning. I've also just made the smoothed off the sides, down the side of the actual railway itself, the line. So we've got a mini embankment there. I could have made that out of polystyrene, but to be honest, I had the clay there, so I've just put a bit of clay, rolled it on there, and just smoothed it down. And this is all going to be ballasted anyway, as we know, so it'll cover the edges just like the real thing. So that's looking pretty good. And tomorrow when I come back, I'm going to, once all this clay's dried, I'm going to paint all this, cover the puddles as I said earlier, and then we're going to static grass it, well, bits of it, clumps of grass, and then we're going to cover the rest with all the ingredients that we went through earlier. So yeah, let's do that. Little bit of a progress update as well while we're here. I've not done much track laying this week because I've just been busy doing other things at the other end. But basically what I did decide to do is use this Markway product, which consists of a single slip and a very long point. I had these made at Markway in Sheffield, who makes O-gauge hand-built points and crossings, 2 or 3 years ago, and I was going to use it, but I never got round to it. But I am going to use it here. The biggest issue is they're beautifully built, but you have to remember that the sleepers on these hand-built Markway products are much thinner than the Pico track sleepers, which are next to it. So you've got to make up the difference with a bit of card, and it is a bit of a fiddly exercise. I'm going to go over how I actually electrified this in the next few weeks, because once you've, electrification of points and crossings always used to completely confound me until a few years ago when I realised some main rules. And once you follow those rules, everything falls into place. So I'll be going over those in the next few weeks, and we'll take a much better look at this crossing in greater detail. But anyway, so this should be done by next week once I've filled in the difference in the gaps, sorry, the difference in the depth between the sleepers of the Markway hand-built point and single slip and the Pico track. So we'll come back to this, but everything is coming on really well. Just got to make this bridge here. I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. This single track here comes from the MGR sidings a bit further down, and we're just going to have a nice girder bridge here where that black marker pen is. We're going to have a nice big water feature, and the single track is going to go over a girder bridge and on past Healy Mills Depot, which is about another 10 metres further down. Or it will be in a few weeks, hopefully. So there we go. Progress update. Let's get back to making our unmade surface between the tracks at the other end. But unfortunately, we are going to have to wait till next week to finish this episode, simply because we've run out of time. Now, we were going to go and see Tim Horn at Tim Horn Baseboards, but he's going to be in next week's video or the one the week after. He's been busy making the next building in the cement factory complex, building number 2, of which you can see here behind me. We're going to finish the static grass and, of course, the unmade surface we've just been working on. But I just want to say to all of you who have been watching my videos and all of you that have been subscribing, a massive thank you for making them such the success they are. I hope next year there's going to be, well, I know there'll be lots of ups and downs, but you're going to be here with it too, which is going to be great fun. So again, thanks very much. If you haven't subscribed, I'd really appreciate it. It makes a huge difference. Have a happy Christmas. And it's going to be, yeah, is it going to be the last video before Christmas? In fact, thinking about it, I think I'm going to do a Christmas special on Christmas Eve, which is just going to be lots of footage of Heaton Lodge Phase 1 and the trains going past. Lots of videos you probably haven't seen, all edited together. So that's probably going to come out on Christmas Eve. So have a look for that. But again, have a great Christmas. Thanks again for watching. I will see you after Christmas. And yeah, take care. Have a great weekend.